Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, and I hope you like me. Getting to know.
Hello again, everyone, and we came to the last part of our interviews today, and of course we left the very best till the last.
Obviously.
Yes, and I have Graham here, who just recently retired from his very, very important post, being secretary for many years.
11 years.
Wow, 11 years. That's a very long time. And because it's the last of the interviews, and as you can see, we have beautiful surrounding here in the nature with birds chirping around. I'm supposed to do Graham in, and he's supposed to do me.
Not going there.
So we're going to enjoy like a double trouble conversation today.
We'll get attacked by the bees.
So I would like just a little bit to start. Well, obviously you mentioned 11 years.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I mean, how did you feel to step from the post and actually step onto the post 11 years back ago?
Well, obviously when I took over the role, I took it over from David Sycamore, who has obviously the highest reputation of standards on everything. So when I agreed to take the post or got elected to the post, it was very nerve-wracking because to step into David's shoes was massive. And 11 years was a long time. I really enjoyed it in lots of ways because I like the organisational side of everything. So I really enjoyed that. But actually 11 years was enough because obviously being one of the officers as you are, you're involved with everything in the discussions and WhatsApp groups and things. So actually I'm quite happy to step down to Assistant Secretary. I'm very happy that John Durrant has now taken over that role from me. So it was a good 11 years.
Well, you know, actually, so going before these interviews, I was trying to a little bit to look into how many years and whatever you've been as this important post. And actually, I'm 11 years and I've been treasurer too.
Oh yeah, it's a long time.
I know, it's a long, long time. But anyway, so let's go a little bit into your childhood. So what do you remember? What made you become a dancer and what inspired you? How did it all start?
Oh my God, I wish I could show you some of the old cine films. When I was a child, I was always, when there was music playing anywhere, I was always dancing around the swimming pool when we went on holiday. And that's quite funny because where we used to go on holiday was called Dovercourt Bay, and it was actually where they filmed the series Heidi High. It's since been demolished. I don't know whether that's a sign. But yeah, dancing there. My mum decided one Saturday afternoon to take me to the local dance school, which was Keith and Christine Burton's dance studio in Hemel Hempstead, where I lived. And yeah, she's regretted it ever since.
Do you though?
Absolutely not, and I don't think she does either. My dad, bless him, either. My brother was probably one that took the hardest hit because he was the academic of the family. And so obviously every weekend we were out doing competitions, which my dad said was never going to happen. But yeah, that was another funny story. But yeah, ended up loving it and driving around every weekend, going for my lessons with Jeffrey Clapham and Pamela McGill actually when I was a baby. So, and at my studio Keith and Christine Burton. So yeah, it was a good move.
So obviously you have a lot of beautiful memories from those times, like traveling and bonding with lots of couples. Is there anything shoots in your mind, some really vivid memory of those days when you've been on the competition road, you know?
I think one of the best parts, one of the most difficult parts, but one of the best parts, when I was an amateur, we used to do these minibus trips, which were originally Bobby Short minibus trips, which many people of the older generation will remember vividly. And then they were taken over by Carol Smythe and Adrian Pritchard. And we used to meet at Streatham Ice Rink on a Friday night, drive to France or Germany or wherever we were going, maybe 3-4 couples, do the competition, get in the bus and drive back again. I mean, they were hard times, but they were times where you kind of forged really great relationships with everybody. You really got to know people. Yeah, and we had lots of, luckily there was a couple called Kevin Lee and Susan Cliff who were like very high in the amateur field at the time, and he had this really expensive camper van. So sometimes when we went with Carol, because Carol was very close to Kevin as his coach, So we used to get in that, and then it was like luxury. You know, we had a toilet and a fridge, and we played cards with a board across our legs, sitting each other. So yeah, but those were great times. I mean, real bonding times. I mean, now unfortunately couples won't do a trip unless they can fly.
Yeah, actually, I can relate to that because I mean, England is a little bit closer, I guess, to Europe than where I was coming from. So we used to go to Alassio, popular competition, probably been there by bus, which would take like 2.5 days or something like that. And then you suddenly arrive and you go down, and you would sleep on the bus throughout the week to save the money. Imagine that. But it was a lot of fun things. No, but it was something special about it.
Absolutely.
I know I probably wouldn't maybe want to do necessary now, but it was like really good. I wouldn't regret doing it then.
And I think those things are such character building things, aren't they? I mean, you learn a lot about people. I think you learn how to interact with people, the politeness. I think all those things come out of those situations. And I think with your situation was probably even tougher. You probably had a coach load of kids on a
like
bus.
20, 30 kids and then like a couple of adults, and I don't know how we did that, because like now you wouldn't even allowed to do it. And the bus drivers used to go non-sleep like for 24 hours. It's like it's crazy when you think, but it was fun. So sometimes I feel like these restrictions now take fun part of it, the safety regulation.
I think also a lot of the couples have this very glamorous perception of the industry, which is, of course it is, but behind all that thing, I mean, if you look at the great names of the past, I mean, our own president Kenny Welsh, Marion, his wife, who danced with Greg Smith, I mean, all those people would have done the minibus trips. I mean, everybody did them. It wasn't just the low grade couples. Everybody did those trips and was grateful to do them. And packing a minibus became an art form.
Yeah, but I think, as you said before, like you mentioned building of the character, and I think when you look, I don't know if you agree, I think a couple of generations back, they were much more tougher, they whinged less or were sensitive, even the competitions less, because I think we were stronger mentally of those travels, perhaps.
And I think that's also the case that I can remember at Junior Blackpool, I know this sounds like all my yesterdays, but like when we got knocked out of a competition, we stayed till the end because we wanted to see how the best couples did it and why they were rounds ahead of us. And now it's sad, I think, when you go to Junior Blackpool where the couples get knocked out and they leave and they go to Pizza Express or something. They don't stay to see the best. So I think, that camaraderie thing of you stay to watch your own country's couples maybe, or your mates that you met at these overseas competitions, I think that's a bit sad. I mean, that must have been the same for you.
Yes, it was. I mean, I remember, for example, the first time when I came to watch Blackpool, I think it was like 17 or 18, and I was like, climbing over the heads of people and staying till 3 o'clock like professional or something, or amateur Latin to watch. Really? And then the next day, 9 o'clock, doing the first round of qualifying. And somehow we survived. I think you just build up that energy and resistance, and you do it, because only just 1 week.
Because you want it so badly, and you do anything. And
you actually was so inspired from the night before to dance better the day after.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that tiredness just would go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And yes, so sometimes I feel like these days, and it's not really to criticize, I think like in the greenhouse we're growing our couples a little bit. And so tell me a little bit now, what makes you special or different from others? It's a big list.
Where do I start? What makes me special?
Or different?
I wouldn't say special, but what makes me me, I suppose. I mean, I had a very checkered competition history. That's probably the best way of putting it. I had many partners. I'm not advocating that, people. It's really not good. And I had a big 5-year gap before I came back to dance again as a professional, and with Helen and then with Cara, who were very happy that she dragged me out of retirement to compete again. And I always wanted to teach. I knew that was what I wanted to do. So I guess the special part of me is that I love teaching. I absolutely love it. I love, and at any level, I really don't care. I mean, we all aspire to teach the best couples in the world. That's what, obviously, when you start out teaching. But when you have taught the best couples, some of the best couples, actually you realise that that's not always the most exhilarating part of teaching, is it? Some of those senior couples, a low grade junior who's for the first time having a lesson, and they learn something so small and it makes them so happy to be able to do it better, or they leave the studio feeling better. I mean, that's, to me, I think what is special to me. What about you?
Well, where do I start?
This is endless, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's probably the inner strength, and it's probably that comes from a difficult, not difficult childhood, from the country where I am coming from, really, is the character building, because of course I was born into then Soviet Union a little bit, and I had to live that tough time, fight for freedom.
It was
And
tough,
yes, it was tough, and I remember as early as 14 I was going onto to streets, encouraging my schoolmates to go onto strikes and demonstrations to fight for our freedom. So
Always been rebellious. Note.
yeah, so I think this is something, and I think that built the character, and I guess that that makes me maybe different from others, that I just was always a fighter.
But you're also a very passionate teacher, I know.
Yeah, well, but I think that comes from that passion, again, built up from that. I was passionate for my country, I was passionate for my freedom, for the rights. It's always comes that. So I think that just translates into, yes, into dancing as well. I think it's just when I believe something, I just go for it 1000%.
I think there's also that passion of, I mean, you see many, I mean, over the years, now I've reached those advancing ages,
Yes.
you see so many levels of dance and their struggles at their different levels.
Yeah.
And I'm always one of those advocating, you know, if you've got a normal body, you've got no reason to be not the world champion to me.
No.
So it's a lot of it is to do with this.
Yeah.
And even if you say disabled people that like dance in
Yes.
the wheelchairs, I mean, they don't let anything stop them, you know,
No.
because it's their passion to dance. And I think that's what I love encouraging and pushing them, that they think they can't do it, and then helping them to get to the point where they actually realize they can.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes, that's true. And actually, like going into like when you mentioned about juniors and those special moments, do you have a role model from very young age, or I don't know, or late in your years? Do you have someone in dancing that was your sort of idol?
My idol, there were lots of them. I was very lucky, because when in the dancing school I belonged to, Keith and Christine Burton, we used to have a party every month, and at those parties they always brought the best people to demonstrate. So I saw everybody, Richard and Janet, Michael and Vicky, Alan and Hazel, Peter and Brenda. I mean, I saw the best of the best. Len Goodman, Jerry Kingston.
What a list!
I mean, I could go on. Even the Japanese, Tetsu Kazuka, Chiko Yamamoto. I mean, I saw the best of it. So I always had these things. You know, my earliest memory, one of those party nights, we had Michael Stylianos and Lorna Lee come to demonstrate, and they used to do a snowball rumba or cha-cha-cha at the end of their show. And of course, these were champions at the time. And when I looked at them, and I was the first person Lorna got up to dance, and I won't say how old because she'll probably kill me, but she got me up to dance, and you can imagine that the effect that it had on me as a dancer, being brought up by the British champion to dance. It was amazing. So yeah, I think those kind of things are so inspiring. I mean, it's a shame that the couples don't get to see those up close demonstrations now so much, but you know, those were amazing times, I think.
So you're actually lucky, I guess, because of this country. I particularly didn't have that opportunity then. We were learning more from videotape. So as long as we can get like one sort of, hand on one tape. And I remember this particular time somebody managed to go somewhere, or pirating, recording the video from Eurosport. And it was actually John and Anne, and so they became naturally my idols, because that's the only video I guess I had, and of course they were brilliant dancers as well.
What an idol! Yeah.
Exactly, and I remember this one time we copied all of the routines, like everything from the video, and then we went to do European Championship Ballroom in France, and John was judging, and I'm thinking, oh my God, please don't recognize your own routine.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was very common in those days.
Yes,
it was for the East Europeans. I mean, because that was all they had. They didn't have access to.
We only learned from
face-to-face lessons.
Yeah, and pirate videos sharing for the whole country one video.
And look what a great job they did actually with it.
Yeah, well, Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there are a lot of good dances coming from there. So
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so again, going to your training, and obviously you had various partners. So what was the thing? Why did you change those partners? Was it something troubling you trouble, or the partners trouble? Just bad luck?
I think I had an amount of bad luck, but as my dad always told me, I wasn't nice to my partners, in the sense.
Oh, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, you can, trust me. Yeah, no, not that. Maybe I wasn't nice, but I didn't pay a lot of attention to my partners. I was, while we were dancing, having lessons and practice, 100% there. But when we went to a competition or we went to Blackpool, the minute I'd finished dancing, I was off with my mates. So I often say that to the couples I teach, like, make sure you stay together and look after each other. I think that's important. So I think there was that element of it. I was unlucky. Some of my partners stopped dancing, got pregnant, not by me. Yeah, gave up dancing. I hope that wasn't a reference to me either. Yeah, no, I think I was just very lucky when Cara came, who I'd obviously known as a child and known the family very well. And when she said, "Okay, I want to dance again, and I want you to dance with me," you've got to be joking, mad. I've been off the floor for 5 years. But we went for a tryout at Starlight with Joe Knight, who was one of my teachers at the time. And after the tryout, I mean, it felt good, obviously, because she's an amazing dancer. And I was sitting next to Bill Irvin, and I said to Bill, I really don't know what to do, because I'm lucky. I've got a good business teaching, but obviously this is an opportunity that's never going to come again. And I never forget the words Bill said to me: "You can never regret what you've done, only what you haven't done." And I said, "Okay, and I'm gonna do it." And it was great. I mean, it was a great opportunity, a great time.
And actually, this leads me to a question. You said you can never regret what you've done. And my question was, like, have you ever, you think, made a bad decision, or you regret what you did? If there is a regret, because I think we learn from those bad decisions, and I think that's the quote that Bill was saying, come to that. But have you ever done something that you maybe regret, or it was just a blessing because you maybe learned from it?
I think it's something that's important, because again, I say to couples when they're having a bad period, like, whatever you've done has brought you to where you are now. Yeah. So it was meant to be, it was going to happen that way. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I could have handled things better, probably. I think one thing I don't know if I can say I regret it, but I think I regret always being so polite. Which might sound ridiculous, but I can think of my competitors at the time who would go in for a lesson and say, "I want to win Blackpool this year," and I would never have said that, right, even though I was thinking it. Yeah. Because I always felt like I should go in and I should be asking about the dancing, which is what I did do, and what I was, I wanted to know why a rumble walk was like that and it wasn't like this. That was why I went for a lesson.
But isn't that the right way to do it?
It is the right way, but I know now from the judges' side and coaches' side that, when somebody comes in for a lesson and they push you that way, like, okay, I've got to win Blackpool, you look at them in a slightly different way. It doesn't mean that you maybe like them more, but there's something in there that's saying, I've got to do something here. Right, it's a whole psychological.
So like they give you a little bit more energy, that oomph, and you really want to do it, even though. And
I love the couples that come in and want to know the details of a lockstep or something. I mean, I love that too. So probably I love that more. But I think when I think back, I think like maybe I should have been a bit more competitive orientated. I mean, I loved competing, but I probably wasn't a very good competitor. I think that's probably fair to say.
Would you say that there are maybe some couples that are too competitive and then they actually just too pushy?
I think that's for sure. Because they only want to think about holding the trophy, but not what they're going to do to get there, and they don't look outside the box. Sometimes there are so many things available to us now via the mediums of TV and YouTube, etc., where they can look up all styles of dance and things that are relative and fitness. I mean, there's so many things that probably weren't that relevant when I was younger, and certainly not available. I mean, if you wanted to see the best dancers, you had to go to the comp and watch them.
Well, yes. I mean, maybe that's what it made them stay and watch, because it wasn't so much available. I think the YouTube, we are spoiled with Facebook and YouTube and all the available things that we can watch.
So come on then, what inspires you?
Oh, what inspires me to do what?
To dance. What inspires you in the dance world? to stay there and be part of it.
Well, I actually every single time if I feel down, if somebody lets me down, let's say even the couples or something, I think that passion always kicks in, that just want to do something again, and you kind of forgive them, even if somebody hurts you, just go over that, and it's just like, doesn't matter, because you that passion boils inside just to make a better dancing world. And actually it's the most saddest for me thing, as much as maybe there is truth in that politics, which it's such a argumentative point for me, but I just don't believe in it, and I just really believe in the good dancing, and I really so passionate about this good dancing that overall it still will win the best dancing. And I think it's just, yeah, and that passion to prove that a dancing can win rather than anything else, it makes me go back and work at it.
I totally agree with that. And I think what people forget is that there's only politics in the dance business. I mean, there's politics in any company.
Exactly.
If somebody knows somebody and there's a promotion for a job coming and their mate's on the panel, of course there's going to be some kind of bias. And anybody that judges the competition says they're not biased is a liar, I think. I mean, we all try to do our best.
Yes.
But you can't delete all the stuff in your head that you know about the person, their background, their mum died, the dog died, they just had their birthday. I mean, all those things, when you watch them for those 3 seconds, it's like a ticker tape running through your head. And of course, you don't base your decision on that, but it's there.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, it's, as you said, like the angle that you watch at them. I mean, you could be two people next to one another judging, and after the judging, sometimes you talk and you come out and says, well, what do you think about that? Oh my God, I thought that couple was immaculate, fabulous and clear winners, and they're, oh my God, I thought opposite. And you think, what
2 seconds different.
Yeah, what you just standing next to me? And I think it's just from the angle, the point, or the moment in your mind, the mood you are in, also everything affects you.
Absolutely.
And people think that maybe of politics, but that's not. I think that's just humanity. That's just being human and vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the couples need to recognize that sometimes, and
actually put that passion, and if they really go and practice, doesn't matter the result, what it was, forget the last day, go for the next day and just fight for it. I think the dancing will get better and the best will win, for sure.
I think as a competitor you have to go onto a dance floor, there's a very, I can't remember the guy now, the stage actor years ago that said when you go on stage you have to imagine your audience naked, because that puts you in the advantage.
Yes.
Because some people are not good competitors and they worry about, there's the judges there, my teacher sitting on the front row or whatever, the orchestra's playing, there's Marcus Hilton standing on the stage, whoever it is. I think you've just got to, if you're really involved in the dancing, you can manage to block all of that out.
Yeah.
And that's a skill, I think, of its own. I must say it's not one I was good at, but
yes, but that's like the artistry now kicks
absolutely,
in, and the professionalism, and in a way competitiveness, isn't it? The experience of to sort of not to see anything around and just purely dive into your performance. And actually and you can see that some people, when they do that, they go into another level of that performance, isn't it? You suddenly have the goosebumps because they invite you to live with them in that story.
And I think that what you've just said is the key there, that what I hate is when they come to me as an audience or a judge. I want you to do what you're doing there and make me come to you. I think what you just said is perfect.
Because sometimes even like the furthest, somebody dances in front of you and it's like, and you're trying to watch that because they're actually telling the right story that
they
you
just
want.
focus everything out here, and the partner's here and they never see them. I hate that.
So let's move a little bit now into some cheeky questions. So now, I don't know if you watched some of these video interviews I did. There was one dominating question I was trying to ask. Whether you think about something when you drive alone in the car, when you have any fantasies in the car, and everybody's like, no, very boring. But
I have.
I'm
for sure I have.
So glad about that.
I think you'll find it quite boring, but for me, I love singing. So when I'm alone in the car, I have my music on, and because I mean, years ago I had singing lessons for a whole variety of reasons, but anyway, I won't go into that. And I practice my singing. I love it. I can remember actually once driving back from Blackpool, junior Blackpool, and I had Barbara McCall in the car with me, and she often tells people like I serenaded her all the way from Blackpool back into Dulwich. But yeah, I mean, yeah, my fantasy is to be like I'm on stage singing these big belting ballad numbers. Yeah, that's my fantasy. It's never going to happen, but anyway.
That's interesting, actually. Because
and
oh,
and our treasurer will now tell you hers.
well, actually, I do the biggest and the most important, in fact, all of my thinking in the car.
Oh, what are we going to say then?
Oh, well,
Okay.
we're not going to go
No,
there.
okay.
And actually, sometimes even like I go home and I know I have to prepare something, writing or some sort of piece of work or something, and I can't do it often at home. So I go into the car purposely, sit in the car, go for a drive, and everything gets into everything done. Choreography is done in my head, in the car.
Perspective.
Everything is done in the
I can
car.
see that.
And then sometimes I even had to stop very quickly somewhere to write down what I did so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, I can understand.
And then some naughty fantasies too. It happens in the car.
You don't want to know this. But,
Right. Was actually really interesting, like really cool to talk. And the time goes so quickly, so we nearly have to finish. And of course, everyone on the BDF committee, I asked this question. What do you feel being on the BDF committee? Why BDF? And what do you love about BDF? What is so good about it?
I think my whole reason for joining the BDF was it was an organisation set up for dancers, as opposed to, I also was part of the Imperial Society for a while. But you know, BDF is the only organisation that's set up for, well, it was originally set up for professional dancers as well, and it had an amateur division. But you know, I mean, over the years, the role I think of the BDF has changed quite a bit. Even in my term of office, it's changed. But I still think that we do a great job for dancers. I mean, we provide these platforms, as in the competitions. We run the World Championships to keep big championships in the country, other than just the normal majors. And we're available to dancers to come to query something. And I think. I think the BDF still has a very valid role within the dance industry at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think like if the question would be to me like this as well, to finish the interview, to say that add to that, obviously we are very friendly, I think, towards compassionate organizations. We are really there to support them and help. But the biggest and most important for me thing, because as I mentioned earlier in the beginning, that I'm always was rebel or fighter for freedom, for rights, for truth. I feel that BDF allows us to express what we think, what we feel, to debate, a healthy argument, and to make the dance world better, because we are not scared to talk. And we listen to one another, and it's always made changes, rules, amendments. Sometimes we take from 5 to 12 o'clock in those meetings, 6 or 7 hours, to over one question, but we never kick it under the table or sort of ignore the person's view. And I think that is so important. And
I think it's like we act as, in many situations, we can be a great liaison between other organisations.
Yes.
I don't know, the BDC, the Imperial, the IDTA, the DPA. I mean, there's so many organisations that set up the BDC, and I think it hasn't always worked, of course, but we've been able to do that. And I think the BDS still has quite a good role to play.
And I think to say huge thank you to Kenny, our president, where he has to put up with us and our arguments in those meetings.
Regularly.
And when he's stuck right in the middle and he doesn't know what to do, where it's like 50-50 split, so it must be such a headache, and I think he does a wonderful job. So thank you, Kenny.
But can we have shorter meetings? Just that.
Yeah, so great. Thank you so very much. And it's really shame it's the last of our interviews, but I'm sure we will come up with some new ideas to keep you all entertained there. And
we've closed many a good show.
Yes. The best till the end. Bye everyone.
Bye everybody. Thanks a lot for watching.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, and I hope you like me.